The RCS system for the Apollo lunar lander was based on one of my favorite aircraft, the X-15. Because it was designed to go into space, it needed a control system that would work where there was no air, and the normal control surfaces were ineffective. That system was originally called the Reaction Augmentation System on the X-15. In this episode, we are focusing on the reaction control system. But before we go into that, we have to go over what we did this week. This week, we worked on the reaction control system quantity indicator, the reaction control system temperature indicator, and the reaction control system pressure indicator. All of these are in the latest version of the Spacecraft Interactive Virtual Lunar Module exhibit dated December 13th, 2021. Now, the X-15 systems that are used today by spacecraft like SpaceX and how they allowed us to beat the Soviets to the moon. Let's look at the RAS system to see how it worked by going to the source document, the X-15 Flight Manual. Hydrogen peroxide from the storage tank, or H2O2, is used as a propellant in the reaction control rockets or thrusters. The thrusters were used when aerodynamic forces were reduced at high altitudes. The propellants used helium to force the propellant out of the nozzles at high altitudes, which helped save Neil Armstrong's life when his X-15 skipped off the atmosphere. Hydrogen peroxide was used because it was also used for the APU besides as a monopropellant jet to power the X-15. The ballistic control stick controlled the thrusters when the aerodynamic controls were useless in the high altitude regime of flight. They worked as basic control sticks of the aircraft, but used the pilot's left hand for the control. To me, this seems difficult because the left hand also had to control the throttle for the rocket engines. It put the pilot in an interesting control issue in the most difficult and unknown part of the flight profile. The Gemini and Apollo spacecraft used the same concept of the X-15, except it was modified and improved for long-range mission. First, the thruster went from hydrogen peroxide to an oxidizer and fuel rocket. This was used to increase power of the thruster. Then it had an electronic control thruster instead of a mechanical, which made the reaction control system even lighter for the lunar module. The helium pressure system, or fuel bladder, remained in the Apollo spacecraft. That was because the X-15 discovered that being weightless meant that the gravity could not be used to move fuel to the thruster. They needed a form of artificial gravity, and what form they decided on was gas pressure. The X-15 was the most influential spacecraft of its day. The systems it used, like the reaction control system, and the pilots it trained, like Neil Armstrong, made it possible to make this video you are seeing right now. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. If you really want to help see more of my work, go to my Patreon page at Spacecraft Interactive Virtual Museum or patreon.com/SIVR Museum and subscribe to one of the tiers. Besides the Apollo program, you'll be able to see the Gemini, the Space Shuttle, and coming soon, the ISS, or International Space Station. Also, the The Patreon users get an extra bonus video on the RCS system. And so if you join up with us today, you'll be able to see that video that our Patreons are getting, which will be more on the X-15 and how it influenced the Apollo space program. And if you join, you get the first month free. You just have to cancel by the end of the month. Thank you for your support.